She looked at the house from the inside, not really understanding how she had gotten here. It was small, but growing. She didn't know how it grew. It seemed like just through her excitement, through her love, and the house expanded. The windows and the doors and even the walls all streamed light. It was so open and airy. And then she realized that she had the power to create in this house of hers. And she began to excitedly build, to create. And the house continued to expand as she put her own unique personal touches on it. It was free at first, and then she began to have not just dreams, but plans. She filled the house first with everything and anything, but then she became more discerning. She realized and decided that some things were good and some were bad, some to keep and some to throw out the front door. And so she did it. And she had this house that was well organized, that made a lot of sense, that was very logical. Yes, the light didn't stream in quite the same. The windows now had curtains. The doors now had shades. But still, she was extremely pleased. It was controlled. It was recognizable. It was familiar. It was comfortable. And then something began to happen. Her perspective on the house began to change. And as she looked around, she wondered why she kept some of these things. Why did she need them? Were they really part of who she was? Things that had once held so much value now seemed somehow empty, somehow hollow. And so she began to choose a minimalist lifestyle, she began to call it, as she discarded those things that no longer seemed so important. The control, even the comfort, gave way to something. The opening of the curtain, the discarding of the shade, once again allowed the light, that long forgotten light, into the house. And as time passed, the house became somehow smaller, somehow less significant. And she went toward the light. She opened the door and walked out of the house. And she saw it from a new perspective. she turned and looked at the house from a different point of view, realizing that everything that was in the house was indeed something that, by her own construct and creation, existed. And so, as she began to play outside of the house, going into the house and bringing out into the light those things that still had remained until the house was empty. And then she went and swept. She swept the house clean, removing even the particles of dust that had been her reality. For now, she was comfortable. She was full outside of that small house. And as she swept everything out the front door for the last time, she walked out into the light that she now had become familiar with. Yes, so much more to explore. Such a vastness, such a limitlessness existed beyond her self-created reality. And as she closed the now small, empty house, she closed the door and turned and walked into the light. And when she looked back, she realized that the house that she had once thought so important, so critical to her life, was indeed simply a box of her own limitations.